And I've got my favorite thing in this house is actually kind of hidden under the console table. Yeah, the AT-AT. That is welded steel that's laser engraved. Yeah. So we purchased the house about 3 years ago, and when we were going through that process, we didn't realize that state property was kind of in the works to be redeveloped somehow. And what we ended up learning was that the state was potentially reaching out to developers for a public-private partnership, and actually just keep the property as state property, but lease it for private development. That didn't work out, and then we learned that the property was actually being prepared to be sold for private development. I think most people at the time were happy to know that the zoning process would go under the city process for zoning rather than relying on the state. And the reason for that is because the city's process is a little more stringent than how the state usually does it. We also believed at that time that we would have what's called valid petition rights, which is it's a mandatory statute under the Zoning Enabling Act, which is part of state law. And it can get real complicated, but the gist is that state law affords property owners certain rights. And one of those rights is that if a property within 200 feet of yours is going through a rezoning, or actually it says if it's going through a change in zoning, then the property owners within 200 feet have the ability to sign what's called a petition against the zoning, the change in zoning. And if enough of those property owners sign that petition, then the approval of that change in zoning, so the approval of the PUD that they're requesting over here, would require a supermajority vote in city council rather than just a simple majority vote. The Bull Creek Road Coalition was founded many, many years ago before the state was even thinking about selling the property. They formed to help guide what gets developed on this property, thinking that it would be something similar to like how the Triangle came about at the intersection of Lamar and Guadalupe, or how Central Market came about. And both of those projects the land was owned by the state, and the state kind of dictated the community input process for the developer they partnered with to lease the property to the developer for them to develop it for non-government uses. And so there had been some offers from different developers to develop this property in that same way, a public-private partnership deal. And so the BCRC at that time were meeting with those developers, meeting with the state, and that's how it ultimately came to be that the property got sold and ARG or Milestone purchased it. And we've been going for 2 years now, and I feel like the process could have been a lot shorter. If the negotiations and the willingness to compromise was there, but unfortunately it hasn't really been there, at least not as of yet.